Welcome to the Help Her Be Brave podcast show. I'm Amy Ford, and today my guest is Abby Johnson. I just love her passion for life, and she's such a great communicator and speaker. Last time I think I heard her speak publicly was at a Heroic Media luncheon, and the movie Unplanned is about her story, and she was just talking about how, there's just something that stood out to me, something about we can sometimes get in a rut of like, oh, we need to pray for abortion to end, and we need to pray for abortion to end, which is super, super important, but also it takes our action as well, and that God wants us to put our feet to the fire as well, and to be the change. And by the time it was over, I was like, we've got to do more. I've got to do more, super convicting. She's such a great speaker and just so passionate. So I'm super thankful she's on today. Hey, Abby, thank you so much for being on today.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so I've been wanting to have you on the show for a while, but I know you've been busy, and then I don't even know. But this is season 5, and I'm so pumped that we get to talk about you have a lot of balls in the air for sure, girl. You stay so busy. But one of the first things that you did was, and then there were none. And so I would love for you to tell a little bit about your story, and then what inspired you to start, and then there were none.
Sure. So, I'd worked for Planned Parenthood for 8 years. I was an abortion clinic director, left in 2009. And, I actually was at a conference. I was speaking in LA at a conference called Unidas por la Vida. And I met a woman who actually was working at Planned Parenthood. And she had come, her boyfriend actually had brought her to the conference to listen to me. And he wanted to get engaged, but he did not want to ask her to marry him until she left Planned Parenthood. And she was actually an educator there. And he was a strong Catholic man, and he was like, been praying for her to leave. And so he wanted her to hear my story. And so she did, and we ended up meeting, and she just fell into my arms and said, I work at Planned Parenthood. I listened to your story. I don't want to work there anymore. How can you help me? And I was new to the pro-life movement, and I didn't really know what resources were out there for abortion clinic workers. And at that time I thought, gosh, we've been fighting this monster of abortion for 40 years. And so certainly the pro-life movement has something out there for abortion clinic workers, people like me, people who want to leave the abortion industry and come into the pro-life movement. And so I started looking around, and I realized there was nothing. And then I started talking to pro-life people. I started talking to, pro-life leaders, and started running this idea by them. And sort of the consensus that I got was, Abby, that's a cute idea, but, that just will never happen. Abortion industry workers they won't come to the pro-life movement. And it's a great idea. It's a lofty idea.
Wow.
Right. But, some people, and this is what I heard over and over again, Abby, some people are just too far gone. And I thought, wait, who you're talking to, right? I mean, I left the abortion industry. I was an abortion clinic director. I left and came to the pro-life movement. And I would say that to them, and they'd be like, yeah, but you're different. Mm-mm. And I was like, but I'm not different. I mean, I was just a sinner in need of a savior, just like everybody, right? And so, and for people to know anything about me, when people say, you can't do something, I was like, oh, I'm going to do it harder. Right. So I thought, okay, I'm going to do this. And so I started, and then there were none, did not know what I was doing, did not know how to start a nonprofit, but my husband and I just felt really committed, and we got this thing going. And within the first year, everybody said it won't be successful. I mean, everybody was like, nobody's going to leave. No clinic workers are going to come to you. It's such a hard sell. It's not going to happen. And in the first year, we helped 53 abortion clinic workers leave. And it wasn't just about helping them leave the industry. That wasn't success for us. Success for us was helping them leave and yes, accompanying them on their journey. But success for us was helping them come into a relationship with Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. And that's what we were able to do for all 53 of these abortion clinic workers.
Oh my goodness.
And so it wasn't just a celebration that they left the abortion industry. It was a celebration that there were going to be 53 more souls in eternity mm-hmm. with us. And so we got started, and we couldn't even believe the success that we had. I mean, we were shocked, actually. And you pray for all this success. You pray for God to do, all these things abundantly. And then when it happens, you're like, wow, God, you really did it. You really showed up. And
thank goodness.
Yeah. And so then, we've been at it now for 9 years. We've helped 600 abortion clinic workers leave the abortion industry, find hope and healing in Jesus Christ. We've helped 7 full-time abortion doctors put down their instruments, come into life with Christ, and they're now fighting for life instead of death. And it's just been incredible. I mean, it's just, people say, Abby, what's it like? I mean, what's it like to accompany an abortion clinic worker out of the industry and into salvation? And I tell people, it's like walking in a miracle. Mm. And I mean, that's really what it is.
That's amazing. Okay. So you mentioned the hope and healing in Jesus Christ, and I've seen a few pictures of abortion healing retreats, because you do them specifically for workers, right? Or is it just for all people?
It's just for abortion clinic workers. So, there's a lot of retreats. There were a lot of retreat programs for post-abortive women and men. Some of our workers, some people who had worked in the abortion industry had actually gone to some of those, and it just wasn't the right fit. So, those are great programs, and we love them. But it just wasn't the right fit, because a lot of those, and they actually ended up leaving sort of traumatized from those retreats, because
they didn't necessarily have an abortion, right? They just served and facilitated.
Well, a lot of them had abortion.
Okay.
About 70% of abortion clinic workers have had abortion.
Oh, wow.
But a lot of them had gone because they were like, oh, well, I've had an abortion, and I've been an abortion clinic worker, so I'm gonna go to this retreat, right? This is a place for me. And so they had gone to the retreat, but what had happened was a lot of these workers, a lot of the women that were there, they felt a lot of anger toward the people who had facilitated the abortions. The doctor, the nurses, the workers who had been at the abortion clinics, which is very natural. Mm-hmm. And the people that had perpetrated, right, the death of their babies. Mm. And so these workers were sitting there and listening to sort of this anger from these women, and then they felt like they couldn't share. And so then they shut down. And then they left feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm a terrible person. Like they felt even worse.
Yeah.
They felt more shame than when they went in. And so we love those ministries, and we want the women to go through those sorts of healing parts too. Mm-hmm. But we've got to do it in a different way. So what we do is we get them to our retreat first. We get them to overcome the shame that they feel from working in the abortion industry. We get them to overcome that first, so that when they do go through a program, a post-abortive healing program, and when they are confronted by that anger of that post-abortive woman, they can say, you know what, I worked in the abortion industry, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I was a part of that. I'm sorry for what you went through. And and they can grieve that together. And I can tell you, Amy, like, I am a post-abortive woman as well, twice. And even though, like, I'm, for many of these post-abortive women that I talk to, like, I'm not the person that was in the room with them, right?
Right.
But being able, when they hear I'm sorry from someone who was in the room for so many other women, it heals them to the core, because that's something that they recognize that they're never going to hear. They're never going to hear from the people that were actually in the room with them. And it's sort of like a missing piece of their healing that they didn't even know that they needed. And so they can sort of grieve together and they can heal together. And it's really a beautiful thing, but these workers have to heal from their own experience and their own shame before they can walk into a post-abortive healing retreat and say, yeah, I know I was a part of that, and I take responsibility for what I did, for what I was culpable for, and I'm sorry for that. And I'm okay to admit that, And so there's sort of a process to it, and so we can walk through that process with them.
We're on a mission to equip churches across the globe to provide single and pregnant women with emotional, spiritual, and physical support. You and your church can be the answer to their prayers. You can help her be brave in her choice for life. To learn more about how your church can host an Embrace Grace support group, visit www.embracegrace.com. That's so interesting, because in Embrace Grace, about 3/4 of the way through, we do something super similar. It's called Representational Forgiveness. And we kind of have some leaders that have a little bit of issues with it. Not many. Most of them see the impact of it, but it's kind of along the same lines. We have some I'm sorry's. It's a woman saying I'm sorry's based on maybe a mom wound, a new girlfriend wound that's with the baby dad now, a sister wound, a friend wound, and then we have a man one that is like father wounds, and he's just like, I'm sorry for treating you bad when I was raising you, and I should have been there for you. Or as the boyfriend or baby dad, I'm sorry for beating you and hitting you, and you never deserved that, and I should have treated you better, and so it is so, to see the women in the room, even though they're not hearing it from the perpetrator or the person that did it to them, it's so healing for them to say, I'm sorry. And we actually just started a new semester, me and a couple of the team here at my own church, and we just had the second class last night. And one of the girls had said that she's just been so nervous about coming to church because when she was younger, she was molested by a pastor. And immediately after the class, we were like, okay, when we do representational forgiveness later in the semester, we need to do another sorry as the church. Like of course it wasn't our church. It wasn't anything that had to do with us, but we are the church. So we're going to apologize on behalf of the hurt and the pain that she received, to help her with her healing, even though she's not hearing it. But it's amazing to me how some people do have issues with that. They're like, that's you're not hearing it from the actual person, and it doesn't really count, and things like that. But the thing is they might not ever hear it from the person. Most likely they won't ever hear it. But that can be
they
part
probably
of the
won't. They probably won't, but it does matter. It matters to the person that's hearing that apology. And that's really, that's the perspective that matters, right? So, it really doesn't matter, like, if, Sue has a problem with it, or if Sue doesn't understand it. Like, it matters for the person who's hearing the apology.
Right.
And it's so healing to hear an apology, because that person that's apologizing, even if it wasn't the person that beat you, or the person that hurt you, or the person that, represents whatever in your life, it's still representing that person of authority in your life that hurt you. And apologies are powerful. They just are, no matter who they're coming from. They just are. And I know one of the first events I ever did, actually, it was in Dallas, and I was so I was so green in the pro-life movement, and I don't know why they asked me to come and speak, but it was actually a post-abortive healing conference, and there were probably 300 post-abortive women in this room. And I stand up on the stage and I'm looking at all of these women, and they're looking at me as someone who had, just months before left the abortion industry as an abortion clinic director. And I'm looking at them and I'm like, I don't even know what to say. I'm like, I could tell you my story, but all of you know what abortion is, right? They've all laid on that table. They know what it is. And I remember I just stood up there and I'm looking at them and I just broke down and I just said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I was one of the people that hurt you. And these women in this room, they all just broke down. All of them. And
That's
because
powerful.
they had never heard an apology. And I think it healed a piece of their heart that they didn't know was still wounded. And I just think that it is such an important thing for people to hear. Even if sometimes we don't understand it, that hurt in our lives, if you can make that whole, if you can mend that brokenness in someone's heart, man, do it. It really does matter.
Yeah. And I love how you're the way that you are helping women and men that work in the abortion industry. You're very honoring and you're not shaming. And I know, I can only imagine that, they go to work every day and they feel as if they could be helping women or empowering women or whatever. And then you just kind of get in the day-to-day where the stories kind of don't really stand out as much. And it kind of just is like, this is the way it is. And you guys are so great about personalizing, but not in a shaming way of like, these women are not feeling empowered. And this one semester that I just started on, again, it was the second class last night, but last week at the first class, a girl was just bawling. She was probably young 20s, crying because 3 years before she had an abortion. And still to this day she said, I picture what my life would be like. I know it was a boy, and I named him, she named him a little boy name. And she said that I cried and cried in the bathroom. My whole body was shaking before I went in, and a nurse came and got me, and like no one ever stopped me and said, are you okay? Or maybe you shouldn't go through this. And then she said afterwards, I was completely devastated, and they offered me one free therapy session there, and she was just bawling. She said they didn't look me in the eyes as I was talking to them, and she's like, they didn't care. And I don't really think that they don't care. I think it's just like, I have some attorney friends that are family attorneys, and he'll tell me the saddest stories ever about families that are divorcing and things, and I'm like, doesn't this hurt your heart? And he's like, well, it's just every day, I hear these stories, and I think we get to a place where we kind of become numb to it, but these are real people, and you guys are so great about shaking them up in a way that is so honoring and saying, wait a minute, this isn't look again. This isn't empowering women, and they're actually really hurting inside, and we can help you, and we're not going to shame you and say you need to quit. We're going to empower you, and we're going to help you find a better job, that something you can be proud of and excited to work at. It's awesome.
Well, they have lived a lifestyle for so long where abortion has become very normal.
Yeah.
And so we have to shake them up enough so that abortion looks abnormal to them.
That's so good.
And but we don't do it in a way so that they feel ashamed or that they feel unworthy or that they feel unforgivable. We want them to feel loved. but we want them to understand that what they're doing is wrong.
Yeah.
But we've all been wrong
Right.
in our lives, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're all sinners. That's why we need Jesus.
For sure.
And, it's okay to be repentant.
Mm-hmm.
And, what I say all the time, it's okay to change your mind.
Yeah.
And so that's the message that we're trying to get over to them, is that it's okay to change your mind.
Okay.
And if you do change your mind, you can be with a tribe of sisters who have changed their mind.
Mm-hmm.
There's 600 other women who are waiting to love you without judgment, without shame. We all understand each other. We understand the stories. Nobody is going to look at you and gasp when you tell a story of what happened at the clinic. There's a mutual understanding. There's a shared grief.
That's so good.
And there's a shared admiration because you took the courageous step, like we did, to walk out and find freedom.
That's so good.
And so we just, that's what we want for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that there's something better on the outside of those clinic walls. And so that's what we're just calling them to take that step and to feel compelled to leave.
So good. Well, in closing, how can everybody get to your website, and what are some volunteer opportunities? I know I mentioned Then There Were None in my new book, Help Her Be Brave, and I'm trying to remember, I think that you guys had a download link for letters, or maybe it was just that you could write letters to abortion workers, or any other opportunities that you guys have where people can partner with you and obviously give to you as well.
Yeah, sure. So people can go to abortionworker.com. That's our website. And we do have a handwritten card ministry that people can partner with us on. It's such a powerful ministry. It's one of the most common ways that workers actually reach out to us. There's something just very sweet and very personal about receiving a handwritten card from someone. And we do have a handwritten card ministry. We also have downloadable letters that are written by me that people can send in to their local abortion facility. And, you can always just contact us if you have an idea, something that you would like to do, send in a movie, send in a book or something, anything that you would like to do, you can always contact us directly at our contact form on our website, abortionworker.com.
So good. Thank you so much, Abby, for being on today. I'm so proud of all the work that y'all are doing, and we are cheering you on. We're big fans, and we're just so thankful for you.
Of course, always promoting Embrace Grace as well. So thankful for the work that you guys do.
Thanks so much for watching this week. We hope that you were inspired. I think this is such a creative and amazing way to get involved in the pro-life movement by helping these women and men find a better way to serve or to work, to find a place that's more fulfilling and not working in an abortion clinic, and doing it in an empowering way like Then There Were None. They are amazing. And so definitely check them out, and also share this podcast with your friends. You can listen on iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube. Also check out helperbebrave.com for more ideas and how you can get involved in the movement. We will see you next time.